when a billionaire father saw a waitress teaching his son to ride a bike. He never imagined that one small moment would break his heart and change his life forever. Ethan Wallace was the kind of man people admired from a distance but feared up close. His name appeared in magazines, his face on business covers, his success praised everywhere. People called him a genius, a self-made billionaire who could turn any company into gold. But behind the tall glass walls of his mansion, there lived a silence money could never break. Every morning, Ethan woke up before sunrise. His routine was always the same: coffee, emails, meetings, numbers. He had an assistant who reminded him of his schedule, a driver who waited outside every day, and a chef who had prepared meals he rarely had time to eat. Everything around him worked perfectly, except the one thing that mattered most: his family. 3 years ago, Ethan's wife Claire had died in a car accident. Since that day, he had thrown himself into work, believing that building more, earning more, and doing more would make the pain fade. But it didn't. Instead, it made him colder, distant, and hard to reach. The mansion that once echoed with laughter now felt more like a museum, beautiful but empty. His son Liam was only 7. He was a quiet boy with big brown eyes and a shy smile that appeared less and less these days. He spent most of his time with the housekeeper, drawing or playing alone in the garden. Ethan would sometimes hear the sound of his small bicycle wheels on the pavement outside his office window. He'd look for a moment, watching Liam try to ride without help, but he never went out. There was always another call to take, another deal to close. Liam would fall often. His little knees were covered in scrapes, but he never cried for his father. He had learned that Dad was always too busy. Once, he went to Ethan's office door, holding his helmet in his small hands, and asked softly, "Dad, can you help me ride today?" Ethan didn't even look up from his laptop. He muttered, "Not now, buddy. Maybe later," but later never came. The staff adored Liam, especially Maria, the housekeeper. She'd tell him stories about his mom, hoping to keep her memory alive. Sometimes she'd whisper, "You have her smile," and Liam would blush. But even she couldn't fill the gap his father left. Every night he'd sneak into his mom's old room, curl up on her bed, and talk to her picture. He'd tell her about his day, about the bird that landed on the swing, or the times he almost rode his bike without falling. "I wish Dad saw me, Mommy," he'd whisper before falling asleep. Ethan never noticed how small his son's world had become. From his office window, he'd occasionally glance outside and see Liam pedaling, wobbling, and falling. Sometimes his heart would tighten and he'd think about going out there. But then an email notification would pop up or his phone would ring and he'd push the thought aside. He told himself Liam didn't need help. He told himself kids were strong and learned through failure. But deep down, he knew the truth: he was avoiding the memories. Watching his son fall reminded him of the night Claire died, and he couldn't save her. One afternoon, as the sun poured golden light over the garden, Liam tried again. He pushed his small bike down the driveway, concentrating hard. The bike wobbled, tilted, and fell. He scraped his elbow and bit his lip, trying not to cry. He looked up toward the mansion windows, hoping his father might have seen him. But the curtains were closed. The office light glowed faintly, and Ethan was on another call, discussing investments worth millions, completely unaware of the small boy outside bleeding on the pavement. Liam went back inside quietly. Maria noticed the cut and rushed over with a wet cloth. "Did you fall again, sweetheart?" she asked gently. He nodded. "Did your dad see?" she whispered. He shook his head, his voice small. "He's busy." That night, Ethan came home late. Liam was already in bed. As Ethan walked past his son's room, he paused. Through the half-open door, he saw Liam sleeping with his arms wrapped around a framed photo of his mother. Something twisted in Ethan's chest, but he quickly looked away and continued down the hall. He poured himself a drink, sat in the silent living room, and stared out at the dark garden. He remembered the sound of his wife's laughter echoing from that same place years ago when Liam was just learning to walk. Now, that laughter was gone, replaced by the hum of silence and the ticking of the clock. The next morning, Maria found Liam sitting at the breakfast table alone, poking at his cereal. "Your dad had to leave early again," she said softly, though she didn't need to, Liam. Already knew? He nodded without a word. She tried to cheer him up, saying maybe he'll come home early tonight. But Liam didn't believe that anymore, Ethan. Meanwhile, was sitting in the back seat of his car, reading financial reports on his tablet. His driver, Thomas, drove quietly. They passed by a park where children were riding bikes with their parents. For a brief second, Ethan looked up and saw a man holding the back of his child's bike, guiding him, laughing when the boy fell, clapping when he tried again. Ethan's throat tightened, and he looked away. He told himself he didn't have time for that kind of thing. But the image stayed with him all day. By evening, Ethan came home to find Liam asleep again. His little bike leaned against the wall near the garden. A small note was taped to the handlebars. In crooked handwriting, it said, "I'll try again tomorrow." Ethan stood there for a long time, staring at the note. Something inside him felt heavy, like he'd missed something precious slipping through his fingers. He went back to his office, sat at his desk and stared at the framed photo of his wife. "I'm doing my best," he whispered to the picture, but even he didn't believe it. Outside, under the soft glow of the garden lights, Liam's bike stood still, the training wheels slightly bent from all the falls. The wind blew gently, rocking the handlebars. The mansion lights dimmed, and once again, father and son lived under the same roof, but in two completely different worlds, one filled with numbers and noise. The other was silence and hope, and somewhere deep inside Ethan, the emptiness began to stir, waiting for something or someone to finally wake him up. Sunday morning came quietly. The sun shone through the long glass windows of Ethan's mansion, lighting up the marble floors and the untouched breakfast table. Liam sat on one of the high chairs, his small legs swinging back and forth. In front of him was a plate of pancakes that he didn't want to eat alone. Maria, the housekeeper, smiled and said softly, "Your dad said he'll be down in a few minutes." Liam nodded, but he didn't look hopeful. When Ethan finally came down, he was already dressed in his gray suit, holding his phone and a cup of coffee. "Morning, buddy," he said without looking up. Liam whispered, "Morning, Dad." Maria tried to fill the silence, saying, "It's a beautiful day. Maybe you both could go out for breakfast." Ethan was about to say no, but then he saw the way Liam's eyes lifted, waiting for an answer. For once, he closed his laptop and said, "All right, let's go." The driver brought the black car around, and they left the quiet neighborhood behind. Liam sat in the back seat beside Ethan, staring out the window as the city passed by. Ethan kept typing on his phone, replying to emails and messages. He didn't notice when Liam pressed his nose to the glass, looking at families walking together on the sidewalk. After a while, Ethan said, "We'll stop at a diner nearby. It's simple, but the food's good." Liam just nodded. The diner was small but warm, with red booths, the smell of coffee, and soft music playing from an old jukebox. A woman with kind eyes and brown hair tied in a messy bun came over with a smile. "Morning, gentlemen." "Table for two?" she said cheerfully. Her name tag read Emily. She led them to a corner booth near the window. Ethan thanked her quickly and opened his phone again, lost in his work. Liam sat quietly, swinging his feet. Emily came back with two menus and noticed how quiet the boy was. "What's your name, sweetheart?" she asked gently. "Liam," he said shyly. "That's a great name," she said. "My little boy's name is Mason. He's 7 too." Liam's eyes brightened a little. "Does he like bikes?" he asked suddenly. Emily grinned. "Oh yes, he loves them. Fell off a dozen times before he learned to ride, though. I had to chase him all over the street." Liam smiled for the first time that morning. Ethan glanced up from his phone, noticing his son's small smile, but didn't say anything. Emily poured coffee for him and winked at Liam. "I'll bring you the best pancakes in the city, deal," she said. Liam nodded quickly. When the food came, Ethan took a few bites while reading emails. Liam tried cutting his pancakes, but accidentally tipped the glass of orange juice, spilling it across the table. "Oh no," he gasped, jumping back. Ethan sighed heavily, rubbing his forehead. "Be careful, Liam," he said in a cold tone. The boy's eyes dropped to the floor, but Emily was already there with a towel. "Hey, no big deal," she said warmly. Happens to everyone. Even me, and I work here." She laughed softly as she cleaned up the mess. Then she turned to Liam and said, "Tell you what, since that juice tried to run away, I'll get you a new one, and it'll come with a smiley pancake on top. Sound good?" Liam's face lit up. Ethan looked at Emily for a second, surprised at how icily she made his son smile. "Thank you," he said quietly. She just smiled back and said, "He reminds me of my Mason. He's about this tall, full of energy, and loves pancakes way too much." When Emily brought the new plate, the pancake really did have a smiley face made of syrup and fruit. Liam laughed out loud, the kind of laugh that came from his chest. It made Ethan look up, and for a moment he saw a glimpse of the boy he used to play with before life got too busy. Something tugged at his heart, but he looked away. After they finished eating, Ethan checked his watch. "I need to make a quick call," he said, standing up. "Wait by the car, okay?" Liam nodded and followed the driver outside. Ethan stayed back, pacing near the counter as he spoke on the phone about a contract in London. He didn't notice the time passing, only that the call stretched longer than he expected. When he finally ended it and walked toward the door, he saw that Liam wasn't by the car anymore. His heart skipped a beat. "Where's my son?" he asked the driver quickly. "He was just here a minute ago," the man replied, looking around. Panic flashed through Ethan's mind. He looked toward the diner's side parking lot tanned. That's when he saw them. Liam was outside, sitting on his little bike that had been in the car trunk. Emily was holding the back of it, running beside him, cheering him on. "You've got it, Liam. Keep going, don't stop," she shouted with a laugh. Her face glowed in the sunlight, full of energy and care. Liam wobbled, his tongue sticking out in concentration, and managed to pedal a few meters before losing balance. Emily caught him just before he fell, steadying the handlebars. Ethan froze. He couldn't move, couldn't even breathe for a second. He had never seen his son so happy, so alive. Liam's laughter filled the air, pure and bright. "I did it," he yelled. "I'm riding Emily." Ethan took a few steps closer, his chest tight. For years, he had watched his son fall and fail, always from a distance. Now this woman, a waitress, he didn't even know had done what he never took the time to do. He stood there silently, watching his throat dry. Emily looked up and saw him standing there. "He's doing great," she said with a smile. Ethan forced a small nod. Liam turned and shouted proudly, "Dad, did you see me?" Ethan's voice caught. "I saw, buddy," he said softly, almost in a whisper. For a few minutes, he just stood there watching them. Emily clapped her hands as Liam tried again, her laughter mixing with his. Ethan felt something shift inside him. The walls he had built around himself started to crack. He could feel the weight of all the missed moments pressing on his chest. His hands trembled slightly as he slid them into his pockets. When Liam finally stopped to catch his breath, Emily gave him a high five. "You're a fast learner," she said proudly. Liam grinned. "You teach better than anyone." Ethan heard that and felt a sting deep inside. He realized his son didn't say, "Dad teaches better," he said, "you." Ethan took a slow breath and walked over. "Thank you," he said quietly to Emily. She smiled kindly. "No problem. He just needed a little push and some confidence." "Every kid does," Ethan nodded, unable to speak more. On the drive home, Liam kept talking about how nice Emily was and how she helped him ride the bike. Ethan smiled weakly, pretending to listen, but his thoughts were somewhere else. The image of Emily holding Liam's bike, cheering him on, kept replaying in his mind. He realized that all the money in his world couldn't buy that moment his son's laughter, his joy, his pride. It wasn't the waitress's kindness that shook him. It was what she showed him without saying a word. That night, as Liam fell asleep with a smile on his face, Ethan stood by the window looking out into the dark sky. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about business deals or profits. He was thinking about a simple woman who worked in a diner and taught his son something he had. Forgotten himself how to be present, how to care, and how to really live. Ethan stood a few feet away, frozen in place, watching his son laugh under the bright sunlight. The sound of Liam's laughter filled the air, echoing across the parking lot of the small diner. It was a sound Ethan hadn't heard in so long that it almost didn't feel real. Emily was still holding the back of the small blue bike, running beside Liam as he tried to pedal faster. Her face glowed with joy and encouragement. "You've got it, Liam. Keep going. Don't stop. Dot," she called out with a laugh. Liam's tiny legs moved quickly, the bike wobbling left and right. "I'm doing it!" he shouted. His voice was full of excitement and pride. Ethan felt his throat tighten. He wanted to cheer, to clap, to run forward, but his body wouldn't move. It was as if the world had slowed down around him. He could only watch as his son rode a few more feet before losing balance. Emily caught him just in time, steadying the handlebars before he could fall. She knelt beside him, brushing the dirt off his jeans. "That was amazing, buddy. You rode all by yourself for almost 10 seconds?" she said proudly. Liam giggled. "You think so?" Emily nodded. "Absolutely. You're a natural." She gave him a playful wink that made Liam laugh even harder. Ethan took a shaky breath and walked closer. His steps felt heavy, his heart beating too fast. Liam turned and saw him. His face lit up, and he shouted, "Dad, did you see that?" "I was riding. I did it." Ethan tried to smile, but the words caught in his throat. "I saw, son," he managed to say quietly. His voice trembled. Emily looked up at Ethan with a warm smile. "He's a quick learner," she said kindly. Ethan nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on Liam. "Yes, he is," he said softly. "At!" But his voice sounded distant, like he was speaking from somewhere far away. For a long moment, he just stood there, staring at them. Something inside him was breaking something he had kept buried for years. He suddenly realized he had never been there for any of his son's firsts. It's not his first step, not his first day at school, not his first bike ride. He had been too busy building an empire while missing the one thing that truly mattered. Liam got back on the bike, ready to try again. Emily held the seat gently. "Remember, look straight ahead, not at your feet," she said. Liam nodded, gripping the handlebars tightly. "Okay, I can do it," she said proudly. She smiled. "Of course you can." As the boy began to pedal again, Ethan's legs felt weak. He leaned against a nearby pole, his chest heavy. The sun was warm, but he felt cold inside. Watching Emily patiently guide his son, hearing her gentle laugh, seeing Liam smile, it all hit him like a wave he wasn't ready for. He remembered the night Claire had died. He had promised her that he'd take care of their son, that he'd be both father and mother to him. But somewhere along the way, he had lost himself in meetings, money, and ambition. Now a stranger, Waitress, who worked double shifts just to make ends meet, was showing his son the love and encouragement he should have been giving all along. Ethan's vision blurred as his eyes filled with tears he didn't want to shed. He blinked them away quickly before anyone could see. His breathing became uneven. He tried to stand straight, but his knees felt weak, trembling slightly. He gripped the edge of a nearby car to steady himself. Emily didn't notice his struggle. She was too focused on Liam, cheering him every step of the way. "That's it. You're doing great," she said, her voice filled with energy. Liam pedaled farther this time, balancing longer before finally stopping. He jumped off and ran toward Ethan. "Did you see, Dad? I did it for real this time." Ethan forced a smile and nodded. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. But deep down, the words hurt. They tasted like regret. He was proud, but he was also ashamed that it took a stranger to help his son believe in himself. Emily wiped her hands on her apron and stood up. "He's got a good heart," she said softly. "Just needed a little confidence." Ethan met her eyes. There was no judgment in her gaze, only kindness that made it worse somehow. He wanted her to be angry at him, to tell him he'd failed his son. But she didn't. She just smiled gently, as if she understood something he didn't. For the rest of the day, Ethan couldn't shake the image from his mind. On the drive home, Liam sat beside him, still full of excitement. "Dad," Emily said, "I was really brave. She said I can ride again tomorrow. Can we go back, please?"
Ice.
His eyes sparkled with hope. Ethan hesitated. He didn't want to go back, not because he disliked Emily, but because every time he saw her, he was reminded of what he'd missed. "We'll see, buddy," he said softly. Liam smiled anyway, humming happily to himself, replaying the moment in his mind. When they reached home, Liam ran inside to tell Maria what happened. Ethan stayed by the car for a while, staring blankly at the sunset. The golden light reflected off the windows of his mansion, but to him, it looked cold and distant. He realized that all the wealth he had built couldn't buy back the moments he had lost. He went to his office, but he couldn't focus on the papers in front of him. His mind kept drifting back to that parking lot, the laughter, the sunlight, the smile on Emily's face, and the pride in Liam's eyes. He could still hear Liam shouting, "I'm doing it, Dad," even though Ethan hadn't been the one holding the bike. For the first time in years, Ethan felt small. His success, his titles, his power, none of it mattered compared to that single moment. He put his face in his hands and let out a shaky breath. His chest hurt in a way that wasn't physical. It was the ache of realization, the pain of guilt. He remembered Claire's words from long ago, back when they used to take Liam to the park together. "You'll grow fast, Ethan," she had said. "Don't blink too long or you'll miss it." And now, he understood what she meant. Had blinked and missed almost everything later that night. As Liam slept peacefully, Ethan stood at his bedroom door watching him. The small blue bike leaned against the wall beside the window, a few scratches on its frame. Ethan walked over and gently touched the handlebars, running his fingers along the little dents and marks. Each one told a story of a fall, a try, a small victory. He whispered softly, "You did great today, son." His voice broke slightly. "I should have been there." In that quiet room, Ethan finally felt the weight of all the moments he'd traded for money and meetings. He realized that while he had been building a fortune, he had let the most important part of his life drift away. He sat on the edge of Liam's bed, looking at his son's sleeping face. Liam's hand rested near the photo of his mom. Ethan's heart ached, but this time he didn't run from it. He stayed there, letting the feeling wash over him, the guilt, the regret, and a new fragile hope. He didn't know how to fix things yet, but he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't going to let someone else teach his son the next lesson in life. From now on, he wanted to be the one holding the bike. The next morning, Ethan woke up earlier than usual. The sunlight streamed through the tall windows of the mansion, casting golden light across the marble floors. For once, he didn't reach for his phone or check his emails first. Instead, he walked quietly down the long hallway to Liam's room. His son was already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed, hugging his small stuffed bear. When he saw Ethan standing there, a shy smile appeared on his face. "Morning, buddy," Ethan said softly. His voice sounded different, warmer, less distracted. Liam's smile grew. "Morning, Dad," he said cheerfully, almost bursting with excitement. Ethan knelt down to his level. "How about we do something special today? Just the two of us?" Liam's eyes lit up. "Really, like what?" he asked, bouncing slightly. "How about we go to the park and ride your bike together?" Liam's face beamed. He had been waiting for this moment for years, even if he didn't fully realize it. He grabbed his little blue bike from the corner, brushing off the small scratches from the previous day. Ethan watched him carefully, a mixture of excitement and nerves building inside. He had never spent so much time with his son without a phone, a meeting, or a call demanding his attention. They drove to the park in silence, but it was a good silence. Liam looked out the window, talking softly about the birds and the clouds, and Ethan listened. For the first time, he truly heard his son. When they arrived at the park, Liam ran ahead, holding his bike tightly. Ethan followed, trying to keep up. His suit wasn't made for running, and the grass was slippery, but he didn't care. He wanted to be part of this moment. Liam climbed onto his bike, wobbly at first, while Ethan stayed close, ready to catch him if he fell. "Remember, look straight ahead," Ethan said, trying to mimic the encouragement he had heard from Emily. Liam nodded, gripping the handlebars tightly. "I can do it, Dad," he said with confidence. As Liam pedaled slowly, Ethan held the back of the seat, steadying him. "That's it. You're doing great," he cheered. He realized he had never felt this kind of pride before. Watching his son succeed, feeling the trust in Liam's tiny hands on his fingers, it was a joy that no business deal or fortune could ever give. Liam started to pedal a little faster. "I got it. I'm doing it," he shouted. Ethan let go briefly, just enough to see his son balance on his own. Liam wobbled but didn't fall. Ethan's chest tightened. He could hardly believe it. He was teaching his son how to ride a bike, the first of many things he had missed. They spent hours at the park. Liam rode his bike over small hills, around the playground, and across the open field. Each time he fell, Ethan was there to catch him. Every time he succeeded, Ethan clapped and cheered. The connection between them grew stronger with every moment. He began to understand that these were the memories that mattered, not the meetings, not the money, not the empire he had built at one point. Liam stopped to catch his breath and looked up at his father. "Dad, can you race me?" he asked, pointing to the open path. Ethan hesitated. He hadn't run like this in years, his legs stiff from hours in suits and boardrooms. But he smiled and nodded. "All right, let's race." They lined up side by side. "Ready? Set, go." Liam pedaled as fast as he could, and Ethan ran beside him, holding onto the bike seat for balance. Liam's laughter filled the air, and for a moment, Ethan forgot about everything else as the business, the deadlines, the empire he had worked so hard to maintain. All that mattered was this small, perfect moment. They stopped after a while, both laughing and out of breath. Liam threw his arms around his father. "I love you, Dad," he said, pressing his small face against Ethan's chest. Ethan held him tightly, feeling the warmth and love he had missed for so long. "I love you too, buddy." "I'm proud of you," he whispered. Later, as the sun began to dip toward the horizon, Ethan and Liam sat on a bench, watching other children play. Liam talked about Emily and how she had helped him ride the bike the first day. Ethan listened carefully, realizing that this woman had shown him a lesson in patience, kindness, and presence. He wanted to thank her properly, not just in passing. The next day, Ethan made a decision. Instead of heading to the office as usual, he told Thomas, his driver, "We're going to spend the day together. No calls, no distractions." Liam's eyes lit up with excitement. They spent the entire day riding bikes, playing catch, and even having a small picnic Emily would have been proud of. Ethan learned to slow down, to watch closely, and to celebrate small victories. Each time Liam fell, he was there to encourage him. Each time Liam succeeded, he celebrated with him as if he had achieved the success himself. Ethan realized that life wasn't about money or power. It was about being present, about showing up for the people who mattered most. Watching Liam grow, seeing him smile, hearing his laughter, made him feel more alive than any boardroom ever could. Days turned into weeks, and the bond between father and son grew stronger. Ethan started to rearrange his schedule. Carving out time each day to spend with Liam, they explored new parks, learned new games, and rode the bike together until Liam was confident riding on his own. Ethan's legs grew stronger too, his body adjusting to the hours spent outside. Running and playing with his son, Emily became a quiet inspiration in the background. Ethan remembered her kindness, her patience, the way she had shown him that connection and care could come from anyone, even a stranger. He wanted to embody that, for Liam to be the steady hand guiding his son through life, the voice cheering him on, and the presence that mattered more than anything else. By the end of the week, Liam was riding confidently, exploring further than ever before. Ethan watched him, his heart full of pride and gratitude. He knew he couldn't change the past, but he could create a future filled with memories, love, and laughter. He wanted to be there for every step, every fall, and every victory. That evening, as they returned home, Liam held his bike tightly and whispered, "Thanks. Dad, today was the best day ever." Ethan smiled, his chest warm. "It's only the beginning, buddy. I promise we'll have many more days like this." For the first time in years, Ethan felt complete. He realized that being a father wasn't about being perfect. It was about showing up, caring, and loving unconditionally. And for the first time, he knew he could do that. One day, one bike ride, and one shared laugh at a time. The bond between father and son had begun to heal, stronger and more genuine than anything money could buy. And as Ethan watched Liam ride freely across the park, he felt a hope he hadn't felt in years, a hope that no success in the world could replace. Weeks passed, and Ethan had slowly begun to change. He no longer spent every waking moment buried in work. Instead, he carved out time each day to spend with Liam. Every morning, he would wake up and make sure his son was ready for the day, helping him pick out clothes, preparing breakfast together, and most importantly, being present. Liam's laughter had become a part of Ethan's daily life, replacing the constant hum of emails and business calls that had dominated his world for so long. One bright Saturday morning, Ethan decided to do something special. He wanted to show Liam that the world could be filled with joy, and he wanted Emily, the waitress who had unknowingly sparked all of this change, to be part of it. He organized a small charity event at the local park, a simple gathering for kids and single parents, with games, food, and activities. It wasn't a formal event with press cameras and business deals, but something genuine and heartfelt. Liam was excited beyond words. "Dad, can we ride our bikes there?" he asked eagerly. Ethan smiled. "Of course, buddy. We'll ride together." The park was filled with laughter and energy when they arrived. Children were running, playing, and riding bikes. Ethan watched Liam pedal confidently, showing off the skills he had worked on every day for the past few weeks. He was fast, brave, and fearless. Emily was there too, helping organize some of the games and smiling warmly when she saw Liam. He ran over to her, beaming. "Emily, look at me. I can ride so well now." Emily clapped and cheered. "I knew you could. You've worked so hard." Ethan watched quietly from a distance, feeling a deep sense of pride. His son's confidence was growing, and he had been a part of every step of that journey. But more than that, he realized that he had learned something too. He had learned how to be a father, how to be patient, how to truly care without expecting anything in return. Throughout the day, Ethan interacted with other parents and children, helping where he could, listening to their stories, and watching Liam share laughter and joy with new friends. He noticed Emily watching him from a distance occasionally, and he felt a sense of gratitude he couldn't put into words. She had reminded him what life was truly about: kindness, presence, and love. At one point, a little boy fell off his bike nearby. Ethan instinctively ran over, steadying the bike and helping him up. He remembered the first time Liam had ridden, and how helpless he had felt watching him struggle without stepping in. Now, he knew exactly what to do. He helped the boy up, brushed off the dirt, and encouraged him to try again. Seeing the boy smile and pedal away safely brought a sense of fulfillment. Ethan had never experienced in a boardroom or at a business meeting. Later, Liam ran up to him, excitement written all over his face. "Dad, did you see me? I raced everyone and didn't fall once." Ethan laughed and lifted him into his arms. "I saw, buddy. You were amazing." He set Liam down, holding his hand as they walked over to watch Emily cheer on other children. Liam tugged at Ethan's hand. "Dad, can I ride with you now?" Ethan smiled and lifted the little bike for him. "Let's do it together." They rode side by side through the park, laughing and shouting, their voices mingling with the happy chaos around them. For Ethan, it felt like life had finally shifted into focus. The empire he had built, the money, the titles, none of that mattered as much as this moment. It was a simple, perfect connection between father and son, strengthened by trust, love, and shared experience. As the day went on, parents and children came up to Ethan, thanking him for organizing the event. He listened politely, but his mind kept drifting to Liam, watching him ride freely and laugh without restraint. Ethan realized that this event was not just about helping others. It was about helping himself learn what he had been missing: the importance of being present, of showing care and patience, of celebrating small victories. He understood it all now. Toward the end of the day, Ethan noticed Emily standing off to the side, watching Liam ride. He walked over and thanked her quietly. "You helped me see something important," he said sincerely. Emily smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "You didn't need me, Ethan. You just needed to notice." He nodded, feeling a lump in his throat. He realized she was right. All she had done was show him a small act of kindness, and it had changed everything. Liam came running up to them, sweaty and happy. "Dad, did you see me ride without holding the seat?" "I did it," Ethan laughed and hugged him tightly. "I saw, buddy. You were incredible," Liam beamed, his eyes shining with pride. "Thanks for helping me, Dad," he whispered. Ethan held him close, realizing the weight of the words. It wasn't just about teaching him to ride a bike. It was about showing up, being there, and believing in him as the sun began to set. Painting the sky with warm oranges and pinks, Ethan watched his son ride around the park one last time. He felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. For the first time, he understood what true wealth really was. Not money, not power, not recognition, but love, family, and connection. Seeing Liam happy, confident, full of life was worth more than any business deal he had ever closed. Emily came over and waved, and Ethan waved back. He wanted her to know that her small act of kindness had ripple effects far beyond what she could imagine. She had reminded him that life wasn't about control or success. It was about moments, relationships, and showing up for the people who mattered most. Liam ran up to Ethan one last time, hugging him tightly. "I love you, Dad," he said. Ethan hugged him back, his chest full. "I love you too, buddy," he whispered. More than anything, that night, back at the mansion, Ethan sat by the window, watching his son sleep peacefully in his bed. The little blue bike leaned against the wall, its scratches a reminder of the hard work, falls, and triumphs of the past weeks. Ethan knew he had a long way to go, but for the first time, he felt ready to be the father Liam needed. He thought about Emily and the lessons she had unintentionally taught him: patience, kindness, encouragement, and the importance of being present. She had reminded him that love could come from unexpected places, and that even a small act of care could change lives forever. Ethan knew he would never forget the sight of Liam laughing on his bike, Emily cheering, and the realization that he had been given a second chance to be a father from that day forward. Ethan made a promise to himself. No matter how busy life became, he would always make time for Liam. He would celebrate his victories, help him through falls, and be present for every important moment. He had learned that true success was not measured by wealth or titles, but by the love and connection he shared with his son. And as he finally closed his eyes that night, Ethan felt a peace he had never known before. Peace born not from money or power, but from love, presence, and the joy of watching his son grow, laugh, and thrive. The world outside could wait. For Ethan, the most important thing was right there in his arms, in his son, and in the life they were finally building together.